Hey guys, welcome to another episode of PG Comics. I'm Mark Bridge and I'm here with Zach Worsner.
That's me.
And we're continuing with our Scott Snyder Batman coverage. We're going to talk about issues 18 to 20. This is sort of the issues that, takes place between Death of the Family and Zero Year, which will be starting next week. This actually is Batman struggling with some things. Now it didn't. I think that's the drawback of having so many bad titles is that something significant will happen in another title, and you don't know. If you're just reading one Batman, you could be like, "Wait, why is Batman in such a pissy mood?" And at first,
It's
you think it's from what happened with after Death of the Family, where it's like,
hmm
but it's like really everybody like ghosting him like that makes him that much broken. That's a little bit of overreaction until you realize, I think by next issue, that it's the death of his son, which happened in Grant Morrison's Batman Incorporated storyline.
so there's not really a whole lot of interplay between these authors, is there? Until they're mandated
Pretty
to
much.
write a crossover issue.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's a problem
Mm-hmm.
because it was a perfect opportunity for Joker to have killed Damian,
Mm-hmm.
would this storyline ever be adapted into a DC movie?
Yeah.
Uh, I'm sure that would be just so easy to have Joker kill him at the end,
Pretty much.
uh, and it would not change the way the story plays out. Who does kill him? Because I haven't read it. I don't know.
I haven't read it yet. I think I want to say it's his mom, but no, it's because the whole thing with that last stretch arc of the Batman Inc. I think is with Leviathan, which is run by Damien's mom.
Ooh, I know them from Supergirl.
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
All right.
Because like I said, I'm collecting Grant's stories in omnibus form, and I only have the first two. The third one is either out now or supposed to come out. Might have got delayed because of COVID.
Just saying. Just saying. It's probably in this.
I like my paper. I like.
I know. I feel like vinyl versus Spotify.
Yeah, yeah,
I definitely understand because I've definitely err on that side.
yeah, yeah.
I haven't gone to my parents' house in months to listen to any records,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm missing it. It's fine on Spotify, but I miss
You
it.
you like that little.
Yeah, you need it. You need it. You need the crinkly paper, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah.
But I gotta say, even though technical bugs notwithstanding, like sometimes the app closes randomly or switches pages when I don't mean it to, especially
Yeah,
when I have the covers up over my head. Although it's now that it's hot in the city, I don't really do that.
yeah, yeah.
Just like it feels like anything will cause the page to switch, and I'm like, ah, darn it, man, I have to switch back. Um, but this podcast wouldn't exist right now if I wasn't on DC Universe.
Yeah, yeah.
So, salud.
Hopefully, down the line you get some Marvel apps so we can start talking about some Marvel.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But we got a bunch of DC stuff to talk about, so that's fine. All right. So, first story is called Resolve, and this is actually picking up a character, the two characters, the brother and sister, from when we were reading the Night of Owls story, or Court of Owls.
Yeah,
Um,
Cullen and
Harp,
what's the sister? Right, Harper
Harper.
Harper Rowe,
Yeah.
who I like very much, and I'm so precious about her right now because every time she shows up, I'm like, I swear to God, if they stuff her in the fridge, I'm gonna get so mad. And she's got a gay brother. Oh my God, if either of them get killed to motivate Batman, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah.
gonna hang myself.
I think the fridge. What do they call it?
Stuffed in the
Stuff
fridge.
in the fridge.
That's a Green Lantern thing, right?
Yeah, DC. It was a DC thing, so I don't think they want to do that. But yeah, she did. What was cool about this issue, at least for the first half, because it's actually first half of it was done by one artist, second half by another,
Mhm.
and the first half. And I'm not an artist connoisseur, like I couldn't, I don't know that many artists by name. Couldn't tell you oh, this guy did that art. But there's a few artists out there that as soon as I see their art, I was like, oh. And Andy Kubert is one such artist that I could tell from jump. Oh, this is an Andy Kubert art. I've been following him since X-Men in the 90s. I think the first issue of his I've ever read was the X-Men 25, where Wolverine gets his adamantium ripped out of him, and that was a dope issue.
Huh. Now, I don't think I've read any of his stuff yet, right? As from your cursory knowledge of what I've read.
No. Andy Kubert, the artist, no. I think he doesn't work a lot. That's the thing. He's not.
Doesn't he do something? Doesn't he do something in Dark Knight 3? Doesn't he do something?
Oh, I haven't read Dark Knight 3, so.
Okay, I haven't read it yet either, but I do have it in print, and I'm planning to read it soon.
He could have. I mean, he's worked on some big titles in terms of like he did when once the Fox movies were ramping up on X-Men movies, and they were getting to X-Men 2. Marvel decided, well, I think it's about time we tell the Wolverine origin tale, because the movies are gonna do it eventually. We might as well do it first, okay? So this was the first time they decided, all right, we're going to tell you everything about Wolverine, because that's something that Marvel was keeping so close to the vest, because the mystery of him kept people coming back for years, right?
It's that X-Files style, like just give them a little bit, give them a little bit at a time.
But once they know Hollywood was knocking on the door, and they did X-Men 1, and they're in production, or I think about to release X-Men 2, they realized, yeah, these guys are about to do his origin tale, and we need to do it first. So Andy Kubert was the one who drew that 6-issue miniseries, and I'm telling you, his art is amazing. I always like it. There's a couple of artists that are just like, they're it for me, and I can just recognize their art. Michael Turner is one. He passed away though, but he did Witchblade, and he did Fathom, and like his women are just gorgeous women. Joe Madureira, I think it's Madureira. It's Spanish. Probably butchering his last name, but
I've been reading outside of the podcast. I've been reading The Long Halloween. I'm like halfway through it now, and I had previously read Superman for All Seasons,
right?
And it's the same Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
Yeah.
And I really like. Well, he's clearly a very versatile artist, because the two books have completely different visual tones. But I really, all of, I don't know, I'm not a critic. I can't quite articulate what I like about it, but his style is very, it's full of character. I think that his style is not necessarily something you'd hang on your wall.
Yeah.
But his art tells the story in a way that not a lot of artists can, their art tells stories like that. And every once in a while he does indulge in like a splash page that is just gorgeous and super highly detailed. And
so
thank you very much.
Yeah, so you're right. He did Dark Knight 3.
Okay,
so
cool.
You'll see his art. I love his art. All right, so what happens in the story is that Harper is continuing her quest of aiding Batman, whether he likes it, wants it, or not. She doesn't care. She's down to help. But the thing that really is motivating her this time is that she noticed that he's going down a downward trajectory.
He's going apeshit. He's self-destructing,
and he's letting pretty much regular goons, as she calls them, getting the best of him. Like it's not any of his tentpole villains. He's just regular dudes, and they're managing to take him. Give him a challenge, and she pretty much says he's like one crazy dude away from just getting killed or something.
Yeah, it's like if Batman is getting beat up by the people that he beats up to relax, then we're in trouble. And then, of course, they, he goes up against someone with venom infused
Yeah,
dogs.
pit bulls or whatever they are.
Incredible Hulk
Yeah,
vibes.
I was like, what the hell?
Or not Incredible Hulk, Hulk.
Hulk, yeah,
That Hulk
yeah,
vibes.
with Hulk
Um,
dog.
mm-hmm.
Which I
And
like that movie, by the way.
yeah, I like X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Okay. All right.
We're allowed. We're allowed.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Um,
so yeah, the dog attacks him. He manages to at least take that one dog out, but he had several dogs locked up in a cage and released him on Batman. But luckily Harper was there, and funny enough, she's patrolling without any mask. Like, isn't she worried that somebody might hurt her and her brother? It's like, at least wear a
eh,
mask, woman.
she's not a millionaire.
You don't need, just put a little $2 kerchief around your face with the holes cut out. Because
Yeah,
she has a skin suit already. Like, where did she get that from? I mean,
it's a work in progress. She's a
yeah.
work in progress. It's coming. It got delayed on Amazon. Coronavirus.
So she did save him, but Batman was none too impressed. By pretty much saying all your training ain't shit, and punches her in the face.
Yeah, he chews her out and beats her up.
Yeah. So then he goes away, but still she was determined, and her method of sort of reaching out to him was to go to Bruce Wayne. And for a second there, I thought she was, it was like, oh no, I know you were Batman. That would have been too corny, but luckily that wasn't the case. She just needed Bruce Wayne's help to reach Batman because, for the face, the
Yeah.
public, he is.
She goes, hey, he won't listen to me. Maybe he'll listen to you.
Yeah. So.
And that is what gets through to him.
Yeah.
Because, Batman is supposed to scare criminals and inspire hope in regular people, but his having gone off the rails is inspiring not fear but concern. Like, hey man, is he okay? And he's like, oh no, I'm not.
Yeah.
And then I love that scene immediately afterwards where he goes to apologize and he tries very fleetingly to play it cool by going, I was too hard on you.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, but like maybe you should say sorry. And he's like, all right, I'm sorry, man. And I really like that scene.
Yeah. So yeah, I and they really had a heart to heart at the rooftop, and basically what she did was I guess she gave Bruce the plan, like some plans that to allow certain lights to be on in the Wayne building, so it spells out a certain word or whatever, and the word was resolve, which is the title of the book, that issue. Yeah, it was a touching issue, one off, and it, again, it brings back Harper. I'm sure we'll see more of her again. Hopefully, it's not a tragic ending.
Yeah, I feel like she's a Scott Snyder regular. Like she is his addition to the canon as opposed to telling these stories. I mean, I guess Court of Owls, but I feel like so far most of the stories, with the exception of Court of Owls, have been like, oh, let's do a story with ...
Yeah.
And she is his Felicity Smoke or whatever, someone who's made up. Although wait, no, Felicity's not made up, right? Isn't she from the comics?
No, she was made up.
At least in name. Oh, okay.
She was made up.
Or John.
Maybe she. Yeah, I know she was. At least the character was. Yeah, I don't think she was.
Or she might at the very least be like an in-name only version of like a character who appeared in like one panel a million years ago.
Yeah.
Like I looked up how there's the Atom had a sidekick named Scott Snyder. And I thought that was very like years before Scott Snyder was writing DC Comics.
Yeah.
There was a character. Actually, before we jump to
she was a comic book character. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we jump to the next issue, there was something I wanted to bring up. I saw that when these issues were collected in the trade, maybe not in the omnibus, but in the trade, the arc before this, Death of the Family, a lot of the dialogue was altered. Do you know anything about this?
It's something familiar. Again, it was like so long ago, but I know that they were talking about something, and it's always the case with a lot of DC comics. Well, not a lot, but some DC comics where initially an issue would come out, and then there was some controversy, and then like for the trade or second release of the issue, they'll change something up. So that I'm not 100% sure on, but there's been so many stories that I probably forgot.
Right. Well, with this, it was, and they had like panel by panel or page by page comparisons, and it's a lot of the flirtatious dialogue from Joker is altered so that they're just kind of regular villains towards each other. And it takes out a lot of that that homoerotic subtext that's between them that is weird, because I feel like that is just such a integral part of their relationship in every version of them that I've ever seen.
Right.
You know, like Heath Ledger, there's definitely stuff there, and Jack Nicholson, they're right there. They're two freaks, and they love each other and they hate each other. Oh my God, it's so good. Kirk and Khan. But I would be upset if I read the trade version and saw that I didn't have the the original. I wonder who changes that. Is that Scott Snyder who goes?
No, it's probably Comics Authority plus editorial. Probably
like that's crazy to me. Like I imagine if I were Scott Snyder, I'd be throwing a fit.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think some of these writers, when they decided to work for the big two, or if you include
you kind of have
Image,
to sell your soul to a degree.
Yeah, you realize that even though you may have certain creativity, at some point your editorial heads can veto your idea, so you kind of grow that extra layer to prepare for this.
There's actually I have a story about that. I interviewed a little director who made this this comic book movie. I don't know if you've seen it. Fantastic Four.
Right. Well,
I interviewed
Tim
Josh
Story?
Trank.
Josh, okay.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that movie yet though. I don't think he minds from the way how his attitude towards it. I don't think he minds.
And he's talked about. He's like, no, I'm not going to do a Trank cut.
Yeah.
He's moved on.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see the Trank cut, but it doesn't exist. Whatever. 10 years from now, he'll write a book about it.
Probably.
But I asked him in my phone interview. I talked to him for a good 15 minutes, and I asked him, you have creative control on your new movie, Capone. You clearly didn't have creative control on your last movie, Fantastic Four.
Right.
What do you want to do in the future? Do you want to work on movies where you can have creative control, but maybe you only have $5 million to spend? Or would you play ball with a studio and be given $150 million?
Right.
But you got to play by their rules. You got to color in the lines. And he said, it boils down to who you're working with.
Right.
And he talked about Chronicle, which, while not a huge budget movie, was a studio movie, and one that he had to, work within the studio system. And his producers were great.
Yeah.
And when he was on Fantastic Four, his producers and him would just never see eye to eye.
Right.
They could not come to an agreement, and things be ballooned outside of his control. And I imagine that it's always that relationship between the artist and wherever their money is coming from.
Yeah.
The IP owner and all that.
Yep.
I mean, I don't blame. You kind of want to say, Josh, you made a bad movie, but Tom Rothman's in there.
Yeah, I know it wasn't his fault, but you know what I do? Because, again, I'm sure his idea for Fantastic Four was cool, where he was going for that Cronenbergian feel to it. But in essence, the destruction of that film started from that idea. Fantastic Four and David Cronenberg does not mix. I don't care how creative an idea you think you have. This IP and this style do not get along.
Right? I could see that being, I could see him pitching it to the studio and they go, all right, do it. And then he's maybe not done.
I mean, it sounds cool, right? Like, hey, what if we do Fantastic Four but make it like a David Cronenberg movie, right? Like The Fly.
Yeah, he pitches it, he does it, and then at some point they change their mind.
Yeah.
Then like, but by the time they change their mind, he's already, you can't go back.
And you know why they changed their mind, right? Because they
Superman?
no, they basically the information of where this film was going started to get out
Oh
there.
yeah, the internet,
Yeah.
freaking internet strikes again.
And then everybody's like, "What
Everybody.
the hell? Not my Fantastic Four!" And then
Dr.
studio,
Domashev.
the studio, yeah, right, and the studio panicked, and they were like, "Oh my god, we need to make this more
Studio
like."
has no faith in their artists. It's like, why even hire artists?
Yeah, and I'm
Just
sure,
have Kevin Feige direct every movie.
right, and I'm sure if his version of it came out, one, I don't think it would be a blockbuster, but I think it would probably become a cult classic, like a movie that people would look back on like, wow, this is a very interesting take on Fantastic Four, and keep
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a perfect way to put it because I've had this conversation with people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your favorite movie
Yeah.
bombed at the box office. Speed Racer, box office bomb. Blade Runner 2049, to a degree, a box office underperformer. Birds of Prey, box office underperformer. All great friggin' movies. Whatever.
Yeah.
Disagree, whatever. It's fine. But, if they made those movies more commercial,
Mm-hmm.
they would lose the thing that made them great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like sometimes you can have it both ways. The Marvel movies, the Marvel Studios movies have been lucky enough. Kevin Feige, a producer, working with his directors
Mm-hmm.
to make something that appeals to mass audiences and to people who like these kinds of movies.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you can't have it both ways. Sometimes you just have to go, all right, this movie's probably not going to make 100 million or 150 million, but it's going to be a movie that people are going to want to watch 20 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you can have that, or you can have Transformers. Sometimes you can't have both.
Right.
The lowest person Transformers movie is the best one, Bumblebee.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's just the way it goes.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's what you brought up the editorial situation of who do you. It depends on who you work with, and I guess Scott Snyder's been there for so long, and I guess
wonder if he does have pull though. Sorry to interrupt, but because the issues are in my app.
Mm-hmm.
Like I checked and it's like, oh no, I definitely have the real version, the original version. So I either it's an oversight because there's a lot of little oversights, like some, and especially in old comics, sometimes like the pages are in the wrong order.
Yeah.
Like it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 6, 5. Like, hey, what?
Yeah.
You can fix that. That's been out for like a year. You can fix it. But yeah, one of those things.
Yeah.
All right, what's the next issue?
So the next issue, it's one of those things where writers, all right, we're writing a Batman, who's another popular villain. Let's do a story on that, right? He did his Joker story with Death of the Family. Let's take on Clayface, shall we? And pretty much, the comic begins with Bruce Wayne robbing a bank, which is like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What's happening? It has to be like some mind trick or some illusion.
Exactly. I imagine that some people are like, oh, Clayface. Obviously.
Probably.
But I'm like, oh, okay, what is it? Is it him? Is he acting against his will?
But the thing that made you go, well, maybe, I mean, if someone thinks Clayface, the thing that would probably say, oh, that's not Clayface, is that when he got shot, his shirt opens and the bat suit was under it.
Mm-hmm.
And are we saying Clayface knows who Batman is? We don't know. But then the story flashes back to 6 weeks earlier, or sometime earlier.
A little bit earlier. Yeah. And he takes it from when he has his fight with Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. It's
implied that he, takes it from there.
Yeah.
Which is a little cheap. A little kind of, oh, and here's his Batman suit.
Right. So basically they I guess Clayface, his powers are now enhanced to the point where he can now not only copy you, but he can copy your DNA as well. But as a result, he completely lost everything that was his old identity, the actor. He can never get that back.
Basil Carlo.
Yeah. Uh, so he's pretty much now an empty vessel. And what was cool about it is Batman had said like numerous cultures have had their versions of shapeshifters, you know, the Navajo and other cultures where you have people who could become like wolves or whatever. It was pretty interesting. Um, and of course, so Bruce Wayne gets attacked by Lucius Fox, who was Clayface in disguise. I wonder why he didn't kill Lucius Fox, right? It was like you basically thought you killed Bruce Wayne, then why not just kill Lucius Fox, right?
Right.
It's weird.
I mean,
it's comic book tropes, I guess.
Yeah, and does Lucius Fox does he or does he not traditionally here he doesn't know his secret identity, but does he ever know his secret identity?
The first time I knew about Lucius Fox was from Dark Knight, but apparently he was a comic book character, so I didn't know him then. But it looks like he doesn't know he's Batman.
Yeah, he doesn't know here, but I was just wondering about other versions.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I guess they wanted in the movie for him to be smart enough to know he's Batman, so he can have a more intimate relationship.
I don't remember if he knows in the Batman Arkham video games.
Probably. I mean, do you see him enough for him to determine that? Like in terms of like that dialogue, the kind of.
He has the biggest role in Night, in the Hush side quest.
Okay.
But yeah, and actually, I don't think he knows.
Right.
But maybe he does. I don't remember.
Yeah. So Clayface pretty much thinks he suffocates him. He throws him in the trash compactor or whatever. With Lucius Fox, this is where I guess all the designs Lucius does for him for Batman, where doesn't work for some reason or another, and he doesn't want it to come out in the open world, so he basically crushes it there. And they managed to find a particular suit.
Yeah, a little Batman Beyond suit.
A little particular suit, a little Easter egg for you.
So, is Batman Beyond in DC Comics canon ever? Or is that like a whole can of worms that we don't need to open right now?
Yeah, it can or can't. Here's the reason why.
The future is always in flux.
Yeah, they don't want to commit to say that's his future.
Right, because they're going to reboot it 10 times before then anyway.
Yeah, so they'll never officially come out and says Batman Beyond is his future. But it could be. But they don't want to say it's not, right? Because it could be, it could be. You never know. So this was more of an Easter egg than a confirmation. It was just like, why isn't the suit in rotation? Well, it'll be too much, and I have my other reasons. Other reasons being I don't want to commit to that timeline.
Yeah.
But it was a cool little nod. I was like, oh man, the Batman Beyond suit is cool. That movie needs to be made, man. I don't know why DC don't. Strike.
I'm sure they've had the chops.
Like, who was my perfect Terry McGinnis back in the day? But I don't know. But he's grown out of it, and he doesn't really.
Frankie Muniz.
No, actually,
Close.
Close. It's a Frank.
Frank.
No, actually, it's a Freddy.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yes.
Yeah, Latino.
Yeah.
He's a Zach Wojner Latino.
Yeah.
Where he looks like a white SoCal kid. Yeah. But hey, I wonder if he speaks Spanish.
He probably does. I mean, doesn't his father?
He did.
Yeah, so he probably does.
Well, hey, my mom speaks Spanish. I don't speak it.
You don't know any lick of Spanish? You can't understand?
I know a little tiny bit. Yeah. I'm the worst Latino.
Okay.
Robert Rodriguez doesn't speak it.
He doesn't?
Selena didn't speak it.
Wait. Robert Rodriguez doesn't?
Yeah.
And he's so like almost traditionalist. Like he lives in Texas.
Well, that's he talked. I remember
once upon a time in Mexico.
Well, I remember when the El Rey Network first came out. Yeah. That's like his thing. He said, I want to make content for people like me in my demographic, which is English-speaking Latinos.
Okay.
And possibly that doesn't mean that he doesn't speak Spanish, but like he doesn't have an accent,
right.
when he speaks English, as opposed to like my mom,
right?
Who sounds like Speedy Gonzalez.
Like his first movie was a Spanish-speaking movie. El
Mariachi. Okay, he probably does speak Spanish, but there's a lot of Tex-Mex people,
yeah,
who and barrio people who don't speak Spanish.
Right.
And I mean, I'm neither of those, but I don't speak Spanish either.
Right. Right.
You know, but that was the thing that another name drop, Guillermo del Toro.
Mm-hmm.
I got to talk to him, not an interview, but I was at a party with him,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to talk to him about it. And he gave me Latino pride
Mm-hmm.
when he said, "Hey, just because you don't speak it doesn't mean that you're not it.
Right.
If you speak, you can't escape it, even if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not that I would want to, but it made me, feel like, hey, I'm not less Latino because I don't speak Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
or because I need sunscreen. That's how it goes.
Yeah. So yeah. Freddie
Freddie
Prinze.
Prinze Jr. Yeah,
He
he's
would have
too
been.
old now.
Yeah, he'd have been
But
perfect.
I remember there was rumors that like Michael Keaton was maybe involved,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like my cast at the time when the show was going on would have been Michael Keaton. Actually, no, not Michael Keaton.
George Clooney.
Mm-mm. Adam West.
Oh.
Adam West was my. I had Adam West as old Bruce, and because Adam West was old at the time, he's dead now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He died a year or two ago.
Yeah, he was. I cast him in my head as Bruce and Freddie Prinze Jr. as Terry McGinnis.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. They need to make that now. Timothy Chalamet would make a good Terry.
Yeah, they can get.
But
I haven't seen Crisis on Infinite Earths yet, but get that guy Kevin Conroy.
Oh yeah. Yes, he actually looks like old Bruce now. Yeah. That's a good one.
Now that all those actors are old, Val Kilmer could do it.
No.
I mean, any of those guys.
Yeah.
And it'd be cool to have someone who played him before.
Heck, Ben Affleck could do it too.
Someone who played him before well.
You didn't like? All right, whatever.
I'm just busting your chops.
Let's move on.
But so he wears a Batman Beyond suit.
Yeah, and he takes his suit. It sucks. He should have kept the suit on, but I guess he wanted to put like a more the medical quarantine suit.
It looked airtight. It looked like a metal suit, but I guess the clay can get it. Clay is like sand; it gets everywhere.
Yeah.
And so he wears like a hazmat style bat suit. He's got a billion bat suits. It's one of those. Like,
they made him Iron Man pretty much. Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you're like, they just do this so they could sell an action figure.
Pretty much. Especially
at the end of the issue, in here they have like a little ad at the end.
Yeah.
And it's an ad for like new 52 action figures, and I'm like,
oh, your app shows the ad still? Wow.
only only the very last page.
Okay.
Like there's no ads at the beginning or throughout, but like the last 2 pages are an ad for other DC books.
Yeah.
Then like some miscellaneous.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always DC universe related.
Right.
But you don't it doesn't make you stay on it.
Okay. That's cool.
It's just the last page.
Yeah, so he fights Clayface. He basically clears up that he's Bruce Wayne wasn't the one who robbed the bank. And I guess he fooled Clayface first Clayface touched him and it's like, see, he's Bruce Wayne, but he managed to flip it and says, well, I have his DNA on my face.
Yeah, he's got a Batman and Robin style with the rubber lips kiss.
Yeah.
But he's got a mask of DNA on top, on his face.
Yeah.
That has Bruce Wayne's DNA. Regardless of the fact that it's Bruce Wayne's DNA underneath.
Yeah.
But no one needs to know that.
Yeah.
And then he traps Clayface in like the light tube or whatever, and it's very like old timey in like a fun way. Like it's not a terribly grim story the way some of these tend to be.
Yeah.
And in a way, it feels like he wanted to write something that was like not directly counter because it's still scary and it's got its dark moments, but is not so terribly grim as Death of the Family.
Yeah.
It's a little more cartoonish, a little more comic booky.
Yeah.
As they sometimes derisively use that term. But it's like, hey, let's have a story where Batman just like gets a solid win.
Right.
Like let's have a story that's not Spectre. Let's have a story that's not Bond's brother or whatever. You know, let's just have a story that's just like a Batman adventure.
Yeah. Now,
And
look, the question I asked reading most of Scott Snyder's stuff, like, you notice, like, the tech that Batman incorporates in this is some really advanced shit. And the question I kind of posed to myself, and maybe I pose it to the world, like, does Batman stop being Batman? Because, like, when we think of Batman, right, there's always, like, yeah, he has his gadgets here and there, but for the most part, he relies on his detective skills, and when he's in fisticuffs, he's, brute force, right? Um, does it take away anything from Batman that he's pretty much becoming as technologically advanced as Tony Stark? Like you expect the type of stuff that Batman is doing throughout this whole entire run from someone like Iron Man. Um, down to the one of the parts in the Court of Owls story where Batman is literally in an Iron Batman suit fighting the court or the Talons. So, like, do you think it takes away anything from
I
Batman?
think I think it's to a degree it's the cost of doing business
Right.
with a Batman that coexists with the Justice League.
Right.
Like when it's the Burton movies or the Schumacher movies or the Nolan movies,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't really have to deal with like, oh, how is he going to fight Superman?
Yeah.
And like it's inherently silly that Batman can fight Superman.
Right.
Like the fight in Batman v Superman, like even though it's cool and even though it's raining and there's thunder or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's still silly.
Yeah.
It's like this is the Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there in his name, and Batman's gonna put on a suit, and he's not gonna get completely obliterated in one punch.
Right.
Like it's not buying it.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. It's a thing where, but we're in those stories where in stories, standalone stories, where he's with the Justice League, or where they, not even with them, but where they exist,
Mm-hmm.
His technological acumen has to go through the roof.
Yeah.
He has to become a Mary Sue, because for him to have a chance of standing alongside Superman and Wonder Woman and the Flash,
Yeah.
and Cyborg, he needs to be a Mary Sue, because it takes a human being to be that invincible
Mm-hmm.
to have a chance at standing alongside, titans, gods.
Yeah.
And it's the cost of doing business. That's why, like, people like there are two Batmen.
Mm-hmm.
There's this Batman that we're reading, the Scott Snyder style, and the one who coexists with the Justice League and has a suit for every single occasion.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Batman Year One style, which is like, hey, he's stalking the night,
Mm-hmm.
and he's climbing on top of gargoyles. I think even though he kind of sort of coexists, sort of maybe, I think the Arkham games do a really good job of that Batman.
Right. Right.
Well, he's got some tech,
Mm-hmm.
but it never quite goes into full sci-fi
Yeah.
the way Justice League stories just inherently do.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going up against aliens and magic stuff, as opposed to Penguin and Joker, where even even Court of Owls, which is, while it's realistic to a degree,
Mm-hmm.
is still it's over the top in a gothic
It's like
horror.
reanimated zombie creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just the cost of doing business. It's Batman can't be a regular,
I guess.
can't be as regular. It's one of those things where we saw a divisive response where some people really didn't like the line in Justice League,
Mm-hmm.
which I imagine. Actually, I don't know. Is it a Joss Whedon line? What's your superpower? I'm rich. Wait, no, he doesn't sound like that. I'm rich. Is that a Joss Whedon line or a Zack Snyder line?
Well, that was in the Flash scene. Wait, where did it happen again?
It happens after he introduces himself to the Flash, I believe. It's like the end of that scene.
Right, because that was shown before Zack Snyder left, if I'm not
Really?
mistaken. That scene was shown I think that was the opening scene for like a trailer they showed at Comic-Con or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that was the
Well,
Zack Snyder thing.
I remember there was a lot of like, this is why Zack Snyder doesn't get Batman.
Right.
In YouTube and Twitter and think pieces and stuff of like, he's not just rich. It's so reductive. He's this, he's that, he's smart, he's resourceful, he's the world's greatest detective, he's a ninja, he's this. It's like, yeah, but also he's rich.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge part of his character.
Yeah.
He could be the greatest detective, I don't care. A parademon's gonna smoke his butt if he doesn't have a multi-billion-dollar bat suit.
Yeah.
And it's just a thing that Batman fans kind of have yet to reconcile.
Because you know what the thing is too, where I kind of brought it up. Like, yeah, I get it, completely get it, I understand. It makes sense that he would sort of, be decked out to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Especially
remember
the Joneses are Wonder Woman and
right,
Superman.
But I remember in the 90s, and the big story of when he got his bat broken, and when John Paul Valley took over the suit, he started to make these technological advancements on the suits till it became a full-blown armor. And then you really saw the contrast between the two, right? You saw, this is what Bruce Wayne looks like as Batman. You see what Valley looks like as Batman. John Paul.
I should probably read that. Should probably read that story.
That could be our next thing because I have all 3 volumes here, so that could be our next.
So in that case, I won't read it.
Really?
Well, not on my own time.
Oh yeah.
I'll save it. Save it.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, a story like that I don't think could work now per se. Only because it's like you can't really see the difference now. Like you could see Bruce Wayne putting on something like that. You know what I mean? Because that was a thing back in our days when we were reading Batman. Is like Batman was just a regular dude in pretty much like a cloth, because it looks like cloth, beating up bad guys and standing up to Superman, and it's like, yeah, screw you and your Justice League, right?
Do you think Batman got, suit crazy as a response to the MCU?
I want to think that. Like, I want to think that, and just, as you say, like, to sell toys. I really think it was like, because back in the days, they would sell toys for Batman and Batman suits that were never in the comic books.
I think I have a couple.
So
that
it's
I
like,
assume were DCAU related.
So it's like, it's a way for Warner Brothers, not just DC, Warner Brothers themselves, to say, hey, let's make some money off some merchandise. Let's start decking him out with some cool shit, man. Like, it's Bruce Wayne here. He has the money. He can make some suits. And, look, it looks, granted, I have my misgivings of the Batman of early years versus Batman of now, but when he does deck himself out, he looks freaking cool. Okay? So, yes, I definitely see there's the advantage of doing the stuff with Batman now. And then you could also call it character growth, right? Where at first he depended on his brute strength. Now he's like, you know what? Why do I need to do that? Like, come on, let's get some Kevlar up on here.
Yeah, well, the Arkham games actually do a really good job of that. Yeah. They say I don't remember I think it's City. He says, I've got my suit, this is my suit, whatever. Mm-hmm. And Alfred or someone is like, oh, why don't you get the other suit, the one, that's more heavily armored? Mm-hmm. And he said, oh, because it would slow me down. Right. So I have the less armor. Yeah. So I can be more fast because I'm so good that I'm not going to get hit under normal circumstances. And then in Arkham Origins, he wears that more heavily armored suit. Mm-hmm. For gameplay purposes, he doesn't actually change his mobility. Yeah. But, it looks more militaristic or more like, tech heavy, although it's actually less sophisticated. Yeah. And then in Arkham Knight, he's going to war. Yeah. So he does wear something a lot heavier. Mm-hmm. But I think that does a good job of kind of showing, like, that classic Batman suit is not the most armored suit in the world. Right. But he is skilled enough that on an average night, he's not going to get hit.
So I guess that answers the question. Like, yeah, I guess we can sort of tolerate it now because like it's a different world pretty much, and each they're as a matter of fact they're increasing the power sets of the other heroes too, right? Like, it seems that every decade Superman gets stronger.
Right, like, because I read something about how his power level has been insanely fluctuating over,
Yeah,
since the beginning.
yeah.
Like, sometimes he was strong enough to, stop a train,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes he's strong enough to, pick up planets and throw them around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just like, there's a degree, and I think this applies to Batman as well. It's kind of like there are guidelines of like, oh, this is the official power level, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's up to the author.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's up to each author. I think that's why Batman and Superman and all these characters work so well at being adapted,
Mm-hmm.
because they can be as strong as the creator decides he wants them to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
or she wants them to be. Wonder Woman, Linda Carter probably wouldn't be able to beat up George Reeves,
Right.
or Christopher Reeve to be more period appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
But Gal Gadot can go toe to toe
Yeah.
mostly with Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading about Justice League Mortal and how that was going to end with a big one-on-one fight between the two of them, and would have been cool.
Yeah. 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 We need the George Miller cut.
The Miller cut, yeah.
Come on.
They never even got the cameras rolling on that one.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, that's...
But yeah, so I guess speaking of Superman, we can roll into the next
yeah.
story, where so Batman is still dealing with the loss of his son, and Superman, pretty much comes to comfort him, and he's on patrol. But the story has like a cold open. Would you call that cold open? Because it does have something to do with the main story, I guess, where the two cops see the flickering lights and then run away, and then that leads to Batman.
Yeah, it's a cold open.
Yeah, so that leads to Batman coming to investigate.
Who's just like six people disappear, presumably are dead,
Mm-hmm.
and Batman's just like, have you been watching all day? Have you just been watching all these people get killed all day?
Right.
What's wrong with you, man? But whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, so Batman goes into this place, and I guess the legend of the Willow of the Wisp. He's talking about that, and the thing that Superman is always weak to, other than kryptonite, is magic, and he felt nauseous and weird in that place, and it turns out it's like this magic ball, and there's a demon or some sort that was summoned by some teenagers or a bunch of
Yeah.
Miscreants.
At least it's a victimless crime then.
Yeah. They summoned
They're all teenagers. I mean, I'm always happy with some dead teenagers.
Yeah.
In fiction.
Yeah. So
Freddy vs. Jason.
So pretty much the story. I mean, it is about this Willow of the Wisp, but I guess the main theme of it is sort of Batman coming to terms with that people are around to help him, including Superman, and while he's seen Superman struggle with this demon thing almost getting consumed by him, he's forced to sort of like get the ghost person, like, listen, man, that over there, and it's a touching moment too.
Yeah.
That guy is a friend. He came to help me, and right now he's about to be defeated. I need your help in defeating this thing. And she tells him that, oh, the summoning thing was over there, like his body was over there, so he goes over there and it says some ancient Gaelic. I don't even know what kind of language it was.
I think it was Gaelic,
Yeah.
which is like Irish.
Yeah, so
It's not Irish, but it's Irish.
yeah.
It's not the Irish language,
Yeah.
but it's
So
it's one of those things.
says the whole incantation and then summons the demon away, and Superman is saved. And then he kind of says, "Look, Superman, I'm not ready to talk about Damien, but thanks for I appreciate you coming around, and if you want to patrol with me, it's fine. Yeah, sure, why?" And he turns around and Batman's gone. It's like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's got a it's his way. He does that with other people to preserve his mystique.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like he does it to Superman as a joke.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, we're good.
Yeah.
And saying, I'm going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
by vanishing on him like that.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was a cool, touching story, and pretty sure. I think it was was it a backup issue for two different books for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what they did was they just combined them for the omnibus purposes. They just instead of
Yeah, it was the
reading
backups
it,
for the Clayface.
instead of you reading that part, then reading the second part of Clayface, and then reading that, they put the two Clayface stories together for the omnibus, and then the ghost story together, which is cool. So it just made it a smooth read. So yeah, it was these. We had just some short issues to read this time. I think we're gonna have short issues to read, even though it's like a bigger story, but they divide them into chunks. I think it was just the first 3 of Zero Year that we'll be reading for next week.
Right up until the villain issues. But I have a question. A bunch of these issues have ended with like a thing that I don't know if it's supposed to be a comedy bit or what. But the Channel 52.
Oh yes, so again, it's not in the omnibus, but like
Okay.
when you pick up single issues, they have the Channel 52 stuff. I don't usually read them. I think sometimes they're like either ways to recap a story or to say what else is going on in the DC
Okay,
universe.
it's kind of like this is what else is happening in the new 52.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're not that good.
Yeah, I never read them.
um, yeah, I didn't. I don't love them. I'm still gonna read them, but like.
I mean, they're not must reads. I don't think they're must reads.
Yeah,
Like I said,
I've been
never
waiting for
read them.
something to happen in them. And I'm like, oh, okay, nothing's gonna happen. All right. It's a little much.
So what are we reading? We're reading because remember we said the 23.2 was the only of the points we're gonna read because that was the Scott Snyder story, and that's Riddler.
Right. I'll read them myself.
Yeah.
And see if there's anything to bring to it. I think we should read from 21 through 23, including
the point 2
1 or whichever one.
Yeah. Point 2, I think it is. Yeah.
Because that includes Batman Annual number 2.
Okay, yeah. I actually read that before, but we can talk about it as well.
Okay. So that's 1, 2.
What order do you have the annual to?
I have 21, 22 director's cut of Zero Year, number 1, then Batman Annual, then 23.
Okay. All right. I think we'll talk about the annual first because the annual is actually right before 21 for me, so we can talk about that before.
Okay. I think I'll read it just in order for my sake.
No, you can read it in order, whatever order you read, but it's for the purposes of when we talk about it. We just get that out of the way and then talk about the Zero Year, and I think we can just finish off with 23.2.
Yeah. And then if there's anything cool in the Bane, Penguin, and Joker issues, I'll bring it up.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, that was this week. By the way, we did the Snyder Cut announcement come before we recorded the last time, or did it happen? Did we talk about it last?
I think it might have been that same day.
Yeah.
We just kind of mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we did talk about it. Yeah, we did. Sure. Because then we talked about the Ayer cut.
Oh yes, we did talk about it. But yeah, like now it's. I guess we'll just talk about it a little bit and then wrap this whole thing up. The thing that's happening with it now is something that I didn't like, where in terms of like what's the transparency of this thing, right? At first they're saying, oh, it's gonna cost 20 to 30 million to finish it. Now the head of Warner's is saying, oh, I wish it was 20 to 30 million. Like this is gonna be an undertaking. And then because Zack Snyder for the longest have been saying, yeah, I have a cut. I mean, granted, that's just semantics, right? Like you could just say, yeah, I have a cut. You have a cut of the movie, but not a finished product. But it, for the most part, we always thought that there was already, because even in Juno XL, I think his name is, the guy who did the score, Tom, whatever his name is.
Tom Hulkenborg, Junkie XL.
Yeah, Junkie.
Who I interviewed, and you probably read my story.
Yeah. Didn't he say he already did finish the score of it?
He said that the score is done.
Now, I mean, okay, so what's the term though? Is it done as in he's composed all the tracks, but it's not laid towards the movie? Could that be that he has all the songs done for whatever sequence that he was supposed to score,
Well, they
but it's
compose the
not
tracks you know traditionally
the movie?
with a cut.
Yeah.
They have a cut of the film or of its scenes at least that they score to.
Right.
Sometimes they score without a cut. Sometimes they
Yeah, because I know, was it Hans Zimmer? I know there was a story about a guy who he scored the entire movie already. Oh, it was James Horner. He scored Magnificent Seven before the movie came out, and Antoine
no,
Fuqua.
before it was shot.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because yeah, no, I remember that.
Yeah.
That they announced it, and it wasn't because he was like dying, because he died like super suddenly.
Yeah, it was a
like,
plane crash. Yeah. It was some reason why he scored a movie already, and
he might have just been excited for it.
I think it was that.
I think it
was that. And then Antoine Fuqua pretty much kind of like crafted the movie around his music.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
That and Antoine Fuqua was my first, second, but I did two on the same day.
Yeah.
My first telephone interview.
Nice.
My first like real interview at Screen Rant. And I asked him about Magnificent Seven, and he said, we shot that to be rated R.
Yeah.
Not PG-13. But I was so bad at interviewing at that point that I didn't go. So is there like a Fuqua cut? Is there an unrated cut just sitting out there somewhere that like you show to your friends or whatever?
Yeah.
Didn't even think to ask about that. Yeah. But man, I would love to see more violent cut of Magnificent Seven.
Right. So what did they do? Like digitally remove the blood? Or was the blood was gonna be digital anyway? They just didn't put it.
I don't know. Bad interviewer. I don't know. I didn't know.
So yeah, we don't, I guess we don't know the extent of how unfinished the Snyder cut is, and then conflicting reports about they're gonna bring the actors back to do some more reshoots or additional photography, and then Hollywood Reporter saying no, the head said we're not doing that. But I guess Grace Randolph says no, that's a lie. They're doing it. So we don't know who to believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing where these analysts and pundits are going to go, they're going to go crazy for the foreseeable future until it gets set in stone. But I haven't been keeping up with Grace's news. But for Screen Rant, the source that we used on a story was The Wrap.
Right.
Where one of their guys, Gonzalez.
Humberto Gonzalez, yeah.
Said stuff, and that became the source of a lot of stories. And I don't know, it's a thing where he's a guy who said a thing. And, he's got his insider or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not 100%. He is not, it's not the gospel of Humberto.
Yeah.
It's what he heard, which is not necessarily, what he heard could be old information, but the story that we went with at Screen Rant was that Snyder had pitched it. Right. He said, "I want to do this," and they said, "You can bring him in to do voice work. Right. We're not going to do reshoots."
Right.
So that apparently is the way things are at now. But if the head of Warner is saying, maybe we want to spend more than 20-30 million, maybe we can go all in on this.
Because there was also another story that they came to him and they were like, all right, how much would you need to actually finish this thing? And he said something willing between the lines of 70 to 80 million to finish. And I don't know. Like I said, they pretty much said like, yeah, it's not as simple as that. It's going to be intricate. It's going to be very complex.
And he pitched it as he said it could be a movie that'll be like 4 hours long or something, which would be longer than any movie that he would ever imagine being able to release in theaters.
Yep.
Or you could do it as a miniseries. And I think if they're gonna want to spend $70 million, then it'll be a miniseries that'll release over the course of like 2 months.
I think they're gonna even like listen, I prefer it just for a completionist sake, where you would have, if you purchase the Man of Steel Blu-ray and the Batman versus Superman Ultimate Edition Blu-ray, that once they in some future release the Justice League on physical format, it's a collection. But then if they make it a series, it doesn't feel as complete. Even though I guess the advantage to doing it as a series, maybe there would be scenes that he would have to cut out for the movie to, you know, put it in series format. So you could add that.
Yeah, I definitely, the Quest Superman, or excuse me, Justice League Snyder cut, Zack Snyder's Justice League cut, whatever it's called, will, is the quest to make as much money and to get comic book nerds to buy as much shit as possible.
Yeah.
And I think that shit includes 2 months of free trial month or trial week, however long the free trial is. 2 months of HBO Max, as the miniseries is released over a period of 6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
More than 1 month. Like, it could be a month and a day. But something where you'll need to do 2 months of HBO Max in order to watch this thing.
Yeah.
5 episodes once a week. Boom. There you go. Then they get all the money that they want.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, Super Ultimate Collector's Edition Blu-ray,
Probably.
4K.
Yeah.
Director's commentary, Vero subscription, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just like Watchmen Ultimate Cut. Like, I'd rather put a gun in my mouth than watch the Watchmen Ultimate Cut. I don't want to see the Black Freighter animated cartoon and getting in the way of my movie.
Okay.
That was mostly a joke.
Yeah.
I've actually not seen the Ultimate Cut or the Black Freighter animated.
Do they even still sell the director's cut? Because there was a director's cut and the Ultimate Cut.
I have the director's cut.
Okay.
And they do sell them both. I think because Zack Snyder is like, most people are going to want to stick with the director's cut.
Yeah.
It's like, even if the Ultimate Cut is good, like, it only adds the cartoon.
Yeah.
And I actually, I've got an exclusive for you, because this one isn't even up yet. I interviewed Stephen McHattie, who played Night Owl.
Oh, nice.
Old man Night Owl.
Yeah.
In Watchmen, and I asked him, I was like, hey, let's talk about Zack Snyder. Talk about the guy. And he goes, oh man, he is a guy who likes to cover every single angle that he possibly can, storytelling wise. He said that he, shot all these scenes with me. And then one day he calls me and he says, I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is you're in the movie, it's great. The bad news is all your best scenes are gone, but they're going to be on DVD.
Oh, okay.
And Stephen McHattie, he's like 75, so he's like, I was happy that that people get to see them, but I feel like the movie that releases in theaters is the one that people are going to remember. And to an extent, he's right, because as much as I like the director's cut, it's not as magical as when you're seeing it, the big screen you possibly can.
Yeah.
So I can definitely sympathize with that. I do think that in the future the theatrical cut will kind of like wither away, and the director's cut will be the version of the movie,
the definitive
and then
version.
the ultimate cut will be like an extra thing.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted to show that movie to someone, I would show them the director's cut.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't bother with the not that it's bad. And again, I haven't even seen Tales from the Black Freighter, and I like that story very much in the comic.
Yeah.
But I think it gets the themes articulated enough. But that the way he said that is kind of like, oh, Zack Snyder shoots stuff that he's not going to use. He shoots scenes and complete scenes that he's like, this is going to be great in the director's cut.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of like what a lot of people thought Justice League was, where it's like, yeah, there may be a few shots here and there that needs a little touch up with CG, but like, for the most part, like, he's probably done. And then even if like there was still more special effects work to be done, like, we know Zach is an artist that works with those guys, right? Like he even did like an animated movie for crying out loud.
Yeah, I know I
Like
saw that.
it's
The
a
Owls of
it's a great
Galahu.
movie. You should check it out.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
So yeah, you would think like maybe it says, "Hey, John, Mark, come over and let's touch this thing up," on our off time. Like he didn't do that at least. Like just nothing was done. The movie just sat on his hard drive with just green screen and a little ball in there. It was weird. But yeah,
Well,
I guess the story will come out, and I guess the final
yeah.
thing we want to talk about before is because we mentioned the whole binge thing. It's fine. The series being released over 2 months. That makes remember when we were talking about how Netflix has changed the game. Now everything is people just want to binge shows now, and we thought like, oh wow, I guess the week to week format is going away with of the dodo, right? But it's like HBO stuck to their guns, and Game of Thrones became appointment television every week, and they're like, there's HBO over there that's getting like weekly, mentions, and people are talking about their shows for a good 2 months, while over here people are happy to be able to watch a show, just binge the whole thing. Where should we go? Should we go with Netflix model or should we go with HBO? And Disney says no, we're gonna go with HBO, and the Mandalorian, and it's to
Mhm.
a great success. And if it was released just one all at once, I mean, yes, they'll still have Baby Yoda talk, but they had Baby Yoda talk for 2 months, right?
Yeah.
So then
Um,
the question is like, is Netflix gonna still say, what, screw you guys, we're all gonna do binge stuff, we're not gonna cater to you motherfuckers, and then will any other network decide, well, I guess we can do binge all at once sometimes? Like, is the Marvel shows gonna be week to week or all at once, right? Like,
I bet the Marvel shows are going to be week to week.
yeah, I think so.
I bet they're going to be week to week. I think that Netflix is the default for consumers. I think every person who's into this race
Mm-hmm.
has Netflix.
Yeah.
And when it comes to HBO, and when it comes to HBO Max, and when it comes to Disney Plus, and when
Yeah.
it comes to even Hulu, maybe not Hulu because of like the regular television, but at least for the cord cutters, when
Yeah.
it comes to Hulu, they're gonna go month to month.
Yeah. Because even Hulu does both. Actually, Hulu does a hybrid. There's some shows they release all at once, and then
Mm-hmm.
some they do like 3 episodes on the first day, and then sporadically release the rest. But yeah,
Yeah,
they're like a hybrid.
yeah.
But like,
I think Netflix just releases so much content.
yeah, they don't have
Um,
time to do that whole week to week thing.
yeah, that you're always going to be watching something on Netflix. You
Yeah,
can always watch something new on Netflix, but with the other, there aren't a ton of original shows on Disney Plus.
yeah,
So they want, if you're not into the Disney back catalog, um, they need you to stick around to not do a free week, binge it, and then cancel.
Yeah, yeah,
Having that week to week keeps the engagement, as they say. Engagement is so important. And when you have the app installed, you kind of like, all right, let me check out Tron Legacy. All right, let's
So
watch it.
so then we don't really have a set.
Or Tron Uprising.
Yeah. So then we don't really have a set idea which format will win out in the end, right? Like we can't tell. It's too early to tell which format
I
will.
think it's too early to tell.
Like will shows just continue to be a binge thing, or will they, And I guess it depends on the format, because the Netflix shows, they really play like long movies. What?
Yeah, I mean, like they could, if they wanted to, they could release The Irishman as a miniseries.
Yeah.
But Scorsese is like, nah, it's Netflix.
Yeah.
Just put out a 3.5-hour movie. So what?
Yeah.
People can stop it when they stop it.
Yeah. So like, but then if you watch when you watch The Mandalorian, it does feel like chunks. Like one story is on this location, one story's about this. So it doesn't necessarily feel like one long movie chopped into
Yeah.
6 parts. It just feels
Yeah.
like episodic.
It feels like an episodic TV show, which
Yeah.
is so good because it's so infrequent these days And we've talked about this before, how I kind of get bored with non-episodic shows.
Yeah.
I kind of got bored, where you got to watch like 8 or 9 episodes before anything happens on Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Like, how long is she gonna brood?
Yeah.
And there's like 10 episodes of Matt Murdock failing to save people before he finally gets to kick some butt. It's like, yeah, he beats up some guys in a like the first 2 episodes of that are a pilot.
Yeah.
And then it's just like nothing happens until the end.
Right.
I mean, and I like that show to a degree, and I like Jessica Jones to a degree. I think it's funny. I don't think they really nailed it until The Punisher season 2, which was like the last thing.
Yeah, the show is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see. I guess like there's with everybody jumping into the streaming game, but they don't have as many content as Netflix. I guess for now they have to do the week to week thing, while Netflix is just holding on strong. Like, hey man, we got so much content, you'll never see half of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I haven't even watched The Witcher yet, but that's Henry Cavill. Like, I remember that there are some people who are like, is The Witcher beneath Henry Cavill? Is this a sign that he's not as famous? But it's like, hey, how many millions of people watch The Witcher?
Yeah, it's
like, I don't know, because Netflix doesn't tell, and whenever they do tell, they're lying.
Yeah.
But a lot.
Yeah, you could tell. You could tell when a show has sort of hit the zeitgeist in terms of like how many people's talking about it. How many memes you see of a certain things. Versus like a show that Netflix will tell you is popular, but it's like, is it though? Right?
Yeah. And like The Witcher, incredibly popular. Yeah. Insatiable, the show that I like, not popular.
You should get on Lost in Space too. The third season will be its last. It's a trilogy. It's good.
My dad watches that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, so that brings us to the end of this podcast. So next week we'll be tackling issue 21 to 23.2, and which will be the first, I guess, act of the 0 year storyline, which is basically Scott Snyder's attempt at the year one. I think.
So is it a prequel? Does it go back?
Yeah, it goes back.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think
right, because they mention Gordon mentions in one of these stories, he says, I've known you since the 0 year.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I hate it. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. It's 0 year. What is that? Unless there's something that happens in the story that 0 year is something else other than it's 0 year of him being Batman. Like maybe it's like a chemical that's called 0 year that's killing
That'd
people.
be like if Val Kilmer goes, I'm Batman forever, and then the sunglasses come down and he's just like, deal with it.
That was dumb. But yeah. So we're tackling 0 year next week. So stay tuned for that. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe, hit that like, drop a comment down below. Let us know what you think of all the Batman stuff we've been talking about. Hit the follow button on Twitch. And if you want to find me on the Twitter, I'm at Marky Tundra, and I'm Pop Culture Galaxy at Instagram. Where can people find you, Zach?
You can find me on Twitter at my name, Zach Wojner. You can read my work at ScreenRant.com, and you can watch me stream video games on this very Twitch page.
Awesome. And I think next week too, I did say I was going to start with Kingdom Hearts, but I just installed Red Dead Redemption. It's about that time that I play that freaking game. And
2?
Yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2, PC. So
Pants.
it's been a while. It's about time that I played that game. Like
Good game.
I played the first one, and I enjoyed the first one, and when I beat the first one, I was shocked because I thought it was going to be one of those long Rockstar games, and it wasn't that long comparatively when you talk about GTA, right?
It felt long.
Nah, it didn't feel long to me at all.
I'm not a hater, but I don't love the first Red Dead.
But I know this one is super long.
It is super long, but it's also amazing.
Yeah, like I'm hearing the epilogue is 8 hours alone. Like, what is this?
For me, Red Dead Redemption was a promise that a lot of people felt, was fulfilled, and I was like, I can see the promise.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I get why you like it, but it's just not clicking for me, which is crazy because I love westerns.
Right.
Um, and the shoot. I maintain that the only thing better in the first game than in the second game is the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I even wrote a story about it
Yeah, I
on
saw
Screen
that.
Rant.
I saw that.
Yeah, the shooting is just so much better in the first one. But Red Dead 2 is the promise of Red Dead 1. What everyone saw in Red Dead 1
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't see in Red Dead 1, Red Dead 2 nails it.
Nice, nice. So,
Excellent.
so the narrative is one of the top
10 out of
notch.
10. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, I'll be playing that, and then I'll hop on to Kingdom Hearts series, and then I think I'll be tackling the Final Fantasy series.
Nice.
I initially was gonna start at 3 because I have from 3 to 15 on Steam. Um, I only have 1 and 2 on a PSP emulator, but I don't know if that's legal to play.
Yeah, I streamed Legend of Legaia, and I plan on Sunday streaming Pokemon Fire Red.
All right, so yeah, I'll start with 1 then. I'll start with Final Fantasy 1.
Final Fantasy 1 holds up.
Yeah,
Surprisingly holds up.
but it's the PSP version, which
PSP
they
version
remade
is
it.
the best version.
Okay.
The absolute best version of that game
With
is
the
on PSP.
CG opening and stuff. So I have 1 and 2 for the PSP.
2 is the worst one.
uh,
You can quit if you don't like it.
yeah, and then the 3 and 4 is the 3D version one that I have that they remade. The remade. It's funny how Final Fantasy 7 isn't the first Final Fantasy remake, right?
Yeah.
They remade 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And even 5 and 6, the Game Boy Advance version of those, which is the same as the Steam version except
Yeah.
for the graphics, have a lot of new content.
Oh, okay, right. But I mean, it's essentially just a reskin, right? It's not really like a ground up remake,
Yeah, it's a reskin, but it's a new translation,
right?
which goes a really long way, especially for Final Fantasy V.
Mm-hmm.
If you play the PS1 version of Final Fantasy V, it's drab.
Mm-hmm.
But if you play the Game Boy Advance or the Steam version, it is a significant improvement.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah,
And yeah,
I'm looking forward.
that's gonna be a fun journey.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be streaming. Let's see. I was planning on streaming God of War 2018, a game which I've never played, but I just realized that yesterday came out, or today, whatever day it is, came out Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath.
Oh, nice.
So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to stream the story mode of that and then the Aftermath DLC, and then go on to God of War.
Cool. All right, so stay tuned for all these cool events coming up, and hope you'll join us on our fantastic voyage.
Yeah.
So until next time, folks, I want to say peace.
Indeed.